Yo, what's poppin', everybody? My name is Nico Blitz.
I'm Jackie Ramirez.
And, before we start this podcast, we do want to say we heard your thoughts, and we are officially doing the Mexipino Food Fest over in San Francisco, California.
Woo! Yes, this is our formal announcement that we are, like Nico said, having Mexipino Food Fest. Whoa.
Yes.
And we are collaborating with District 6 in SF.
Yeah, it'll be at District 6 in San Francisco, California on October 16th. Tickets are only going to be $5. We're going to put that in our bio. Jackie and I are going to do a live podcast there. We're going to have a lot of Mexican and Filipino food vendors, clothing brands, and influencers stop by. And also, too, we might have some Mexipino merch right there.
You guys are definitely want to be there. We want to meet you guys. We want to, gather all the Mexipino podcast community and just get to meet you guys on a personal level because this is something we both wanted to do. It's going to be, like Nico said, on October 16th, which is a Sunday. You guys can also watch the 49ers game that day if you're in San Francisco.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's going to be kind of a day event, so it's going to be starting from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But yeah.
Yeah, check it out. And Jackie's doing signatures all day because she's famous now.
No, so is Nico because he's very SF famous. So, we really hope that you guys can make it out there. We would love for you guys to be there. And like Nico said, you guys can find tickets to that event, $5 on our Eventbrite. And then I believe we'll also be selling at the door in case. I'm not sure.
Maybe, but just hit the Eventbrite to make sure.
Hit the Eventbrite so you already have them prepared.
Yes. Link in bio. All right, let's get to the podcast. Yee! Kamusta na kayo?
Hola, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Nico Blitz.
And I'm Jackie Ramirez.
And we have a special guest in the building right now, Naomi.
We have Naomi Rodriguez.
I'm so happy to be here. I think the two of you are just adorable.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Thank
and
you.
you're going to have like really cute kids.
Oh my
too.
gosh.
Thank you. Mexipino kids.
Yeah, I know. And the best of both cultures.
Right?
Man, I
exactly.
love it.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys who don't know Naomi, you are the Vice President of External Affairs and Community Relations at the Dodgers. Huge long title.
I know.
Yeah. AKA someone extremely important to the Dodgers organization.
Very crucial, very crucial. So Naomi, I don't know, just kind of introduce yourself a little bit, where you're from and a little background of who you are.
Well, first of all, I'm fans of both of you.
Oh, thank you.
And so I just love it. And before I get started, I want to share a story. So I my freshman year in college, going into my freshman year, they set us, I don't know how they do it now, but remember, I'm going to be 50. So this was years ago. I shouldn't have said my age. But so we were pen pals, my roommate and I. Her name was Carmen Marquez. Carmen, if you're listening, I love you. I miss you.
You said was as if like...
Yeah, she is. I haven't talked to her in a long time. So anyway, we were writing back and forth. At that time, there wasn't the technology the way it is now. So Carmen Marquez, I automatically assumed, another Latina. They put me with another Latina, right? So it partnered me as a dorm mate. We were in the girls' dorm on the girls' floor at Long Beach State. So over the summer, writing back and forth, just became really good friends, right? So then the day we move in, I walk into the dorm. I'm expecting to see a Latina, right? And so I open the door of the dorm and I look and it's this little Lola. And I'm like, and I look and it Carmen, she goes, Lola, Naomi, and I'm like, oh my God, and they have ponce and lumpia and everything, like all the Filipino food.
love that.
Yes.
And so I was like, and I felt it was my first really introduction to the Filipino culture, not just like, surface type of thing,
right?
But like the culture, and we became such great friends that first year. And it's so funny. And her Lola was like my Lola too. I would call her Lola. And so she would, and her Lola was getting older, right? And so she would call home and she would say her Lola lived with her parents and from San Francisco area, right?
There we go.
Okay.
And so she would call home, right? And I'll never, this was like a daily thing. Hi Lola, it's Carmen. Hi, Lola. And then Lola would be like, Carmen does not live here. And then she's like, No, Lola, it's Carmen. It's Carmen. Carmen is in Long Beach.
Oh my God.
That's
Okay,
hilarious.
Lola. Okay, Lola, I'll call back.
Oh my God.
That's so funny.
Well, that's
Oh my
one
God.
way to introduce the Filipino community
Yeah,
to you.
that's right. Anyway, I had to say it.
You
because
got
I
the
was-
most authentic Filipino experience, like right and slammed in your face.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It just like I fell in love with a culture so similar to the Latino culture. I could
Absolutely.
see why
Yeah.
the two of you are together. It makes
Yeah.
so much
Yeah. You know, I was just telling Jackie actually, because you know it is actually the start of Hispanic Heritage Month
Yes.
today of
Today, happy
recording.
Hispanic Heritage Month. Yes,
And
yes.
so, you know, Jackie was over here talking to me about like I owe her some reparations.
I was all like, so
And
how
I'm
much
like,
are you
what-
gonna Venmo me today? Like,
Yeah. And I'm like, well, first of all, the Spaniards took over both
I
of
was
our
just gonna say
cultures.
that. I was
Hence and
just gonna
therefore,
say-
you owe me too.
Yeah, so this is what Carmen and I used to say. Like, Spain conquered both of us. So
yeah,
like
so
that's
we're
it.
about even, I
Yes,
guess. It's
yeah,
okay then.
that's-
Never mind.
Yes, that's right. So I don't know, what was the original question? I wanted to share that story. Oh, just about what I do at the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah, so I'm going into my 9th season. You see here that the
ring, go ahead and flex
Man,
it.
she
I
really
mean,
brought the ring.
That's
That's
crazy.
the real
nice.
deal, baby.
That's
And
not
you
the
even have-
replica either.
No, that's not the replica. That's it. That's the ring.
Oh my gosh. And it's like has your last name
fat.
too.
It has
It's-
my last name, so it has Los Angeles, the year on this side, and then on this side it says Rodriguez. The players, they have. I just have the logo, but the players have their last name and then of course their number.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so I don't have a number, so yeah.
That's how you know,
That's
man.
so
That's
nice.
some
Oh my
custom made
gosh.
thing too.
Ooh,
Wow.
look at that.
So wait, does that? Wow. And it's heavy.
It's real. That's all real.
That's amazing. I want to give that back before
Yeah.
I
I
accidentally
know,
drop
right?
it.
Have you ever dropped it?
I have.
You have?
I have.
Oh my
I
gosh.
dropped it on rug, and like my daughter wanted to take it to school. I was like, oh no, that's not happening. And she says, well, can we do like an open house where people come in and see it? And I'm like, okay, maybe. But also I don't want you to know where it is in the house either.
That's big facts too. It just take the replica that they gave away.
I gave them.
Yeah.
I did give it to them. Yes.
No, I do gotta say this though, because I haven't been a fan of baseball, well, until I met Jackie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, like I was repping the Giants like when I'm back in the Bay.
Yeah.
So I think an issue that I've had, especially being a Warriors fan, is when people count a championship and also don't count the championship because of certain circumstances. So I think when the Dodgers won during like the COVID years, people weren't necessarily counting that. And, you know, I'm over here saying like, well, at the same time, everyone else had their opportunity to win too.
That was just wrong.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the rules were the same for everyone.
everyone.
No, there were
Absolutely.
not
Yeah,
special
yeah.
rules for anyone. So if it was an easy year, then why didn't they win?
Exactly.
Like, when people want to say, well, it was easy, well, then what happened? Where's your
Why
team?
didn't your team do it?
Yeah.
Everybody played by the same rules.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A championship is a championship.
Period.
That's why-
I would say that it was even harder. All the things that the players had to go through and
Being in the
tests and
bubble.
you had to- all of that stuff. It was just.
Well, you were actually in the bubble too, right?
No, I wasn't in the bubble. I wasn't. I was there for the World Series, but I wasn't in the bubble. And some members of my team were in the bubble, and it was difficult. They had to leave their family, and like it was crazy. It was crazy. Imagine. I mean, did we ever even imagine something like that could happen in our
No.
world?
Yeah.
No.
And how would it affect everything? Not just baseball, just our life. Just
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was cardboard cutouts. Like I mean, like
Oh
it's
my
crazy.
God, I remember that. I thought it was the strangest thing. It was just like a placebo effect. Like, let's pretend we have a crowd in the back.
Yeah.
It was really weird to be in the stadium with the cardboard
Right?
cutouts. It was really weird. That was weird.
I
Like,
remember I went to the stadium, and it wasn't during a game, but it was just like, and I saw the cardboard cutouts. I was like, this is weird. Like, this is, I feel
Almost-
strange right now.
almost spooky a little bit.
yeah,
Right?
it was
Yeah,
almost
I know.
spooky.
Weren't people getting paid to get like their own cutouts? Like,
Oh yeah,
on there?
so it was a fundraiser for the foundation, for the Dodger Foundation, and so you could pay. Lots of people paid, and then now they have the cutouts in their house, like
That's
as part of
hilarious.
art. You know, yeah. But I don't know the players loved it so much because did you know that they had fake cheering? Like
Yeah.
So if somebody hit a home run, they would play like cheering.
Just
Yeah,
like
we
this.
hear Severe and Dieter just playing the button. Just go ahead.
That's hilarious.
It's crazy. Thank God we have the real deal now.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's nothing like being, as you know, there's nothing like being in the stadium with fans and just cheering on the Dodgers. And like, we're such an amazing team. I know I'm very biased, but they're so good this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we clinched already, so
I know, right?
I'm just saying, we're just putting that out there.
I know. And the team is so much fun. And I work a lot with the players from a philanthropic perspective and giving back to the community. And it's the greatest job ever, because when a player comes to me or we brainstorm together, like, what can we do in our community to help whatever the issue may be. Everybody has their own issue, maybe something personal because of their family, or maybe just what's happening in Los Angeles. We recently took Freddie Freeman. It was so much fun. So we took Freddie Freeman to Garfield High School.
Oh my gosh, that's where my mom went to school.
Yes. My parents are from East LA too.
Oh,
so
okay,
both of my parents are from East LA.
Perfect.
Yes, right here.
There we go.
My hermana right there.
The LA connection is happening right now, ladies and gentlemen.
My hermana, so my younger sister.
Yes, absolutely.
You could be my daughter, actually. So yeah, I mean, that's true. But so
We'll go with younger sister though.
Okay, I'll go with younger sister. So Garfield High School, they won both in softball and baseball, the CIF like city finals. They made it to the championship. I don't know the exact title. So we wanted to do something just to congratulate them. And every year we do something called the community tour. I think you're familiar with that. Yeah. So where we go out into the community for a week and we just thank our fans. We tell the community, we love them. It's called the Dodgers Love LA Community Tour. Now that usually happens in January in the off season, but we were in the lockout. So it's always the last week of January, right before Fan Fest. This year, it's coming back. So the lockout happened. There was too many things going on in the off season that we just couldn't do it. So, but mainly the lockout. So we finally ended up doing it about a month ago. So the idea was to take Freddie to Garfield and surprise the students. And so they thought that the Dodgers were coming to campus just to, say, congratulations, you're awesome, keep up the good work, give out shirts and hats, and just basically give them a high five.
Right.
I mean, they were happy with the shirts and the hats, right? Like,
they're already
who wouldn't be?
ecstatic.
yeah, it was like that's great. So then, and I think it started to get around a little bit about Freddie. When I sat down with Freddie and I said, look, we have this idea of going to Garfield High School. Like, what do you think? And I was very animated, obviously. Like, I was very excited. We're going to surprise him. He's like, I love it. Let's do it. And so we called that day Freddie Loves LA as part of the Dodgers Love LA, Freddie Loves LA. We did 3 stops. Garfield was one of our big stops. So anyway, the kids are all excited. Their ASB president and vice president were kind of being the anchors and co-hosts, if you will. And so I went out on the stage in front of thousands of kids, and I said, okay, congratulations, this has happened, we're so proud of you, Garfield High School, you kids, you guys rock. I was cheering them on, and I said, but I have some really bad news. I know you expected a player to be here. I think you maybe heard that Freddie was going to come, and I'm just really sorry, but he can't be here. And they were like, boo. You're
like, oh my God, what did I do?
Tomato.
I'm like, seriously, oh my God. And I said, but he's going to come back, and we just want to say how much we love you. And they were like, boo. So then I'm like, say! He comes out with his family and they go freaking nuts.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
They were like, he comes out and they did finish the lyric with him. You can
Oh
go, you
my
can see it online.
gosh.
Yeah. Finished the lyric. Let It Go was one of the songs. He had his wife and his
sick.
kids.
Let it go.
Can I say that Charlie has the best swag as a kid
right?
ever?
Right?
Like, I swear, he walks with so much confidence. And how old is Charlie? He's like, I think he's like 6, maybe.
So, yeah, around there. Yes,
Yeah.
he's little. He's so cute.
He's adorable.
So cute. So yeah, he was up there with his dad. With Finish the Lyric. They interviewed him. What other songs were on Finish the Lyric? Oh, the song from Coco or the Disney show, the Disney movie.
Oh, you mean
We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Oh, that's Encanto.
Encanto, yeah. Wrong one. Coco, Encanto, same thing.
Wrong Hispanic Disney movie.
There's 2.
You had a 50-50 chance there.
I love that.
It's funny. I did say Coco. Yeah. So they did. We Don't Talk About Bruno. That was funny too. He knew that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we just had a good time with them. So when we can surprise, like, that made that their day. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that he was there, he was visiting, he was having a great time. And so when we're able to do things like that as the Dodgers and just bless our community, it's wonderful. It's an amazing platform we have.
Yeah.
And a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
And is that like something that's you've always wanted to do ever since you were a kid? Like, just be a part of the community like that?
I don't know that I actually never thought about working for a professional team. It wasn't something that I said, oh, that's what I'm going to do when I'm older. And mainly because I didn't see anybody that looked like me. So I grew up in Los Angeles. I grew up going to Dodger Stadium, but I never knew or even thought about a career in baseball, professional baseball, or even professional sports. I never saw somebody that looked like me, that talked like me, that was from my neighborhood, that even a woman, frankly, that any type of woman that, I could aspire to be and say, oh, that's something I can do. So part of my goal in this position is I want Latinas and women of color to see me and say, like, I want to do that. That's something that I can do.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's an applause button, by the way, just in case
Yeah.
you're like,
all right, got it. And that's a big part of my motivation. So I think when the Dodgers reached out about this position, I think it was where opportunity met preparation. And I wasn't really looking for anything. I knew the person that was leaving, and she recommended me for this position. And it all came together at the right time.
wow, so you didn't even seek this position. It kind of seeked you in a sense.
Yeah, she said, would you be interested? I'm leaving, and would you be interested? And I said, oh, I'm open, definitely open. I mean, I love the Dodgers, and that's how it happened.
Wow, that's so crazy.
And I'll tell you something, that interview, because of course I had to interview and go through the process. That interview was the best interview of my life. I mean, hands down.
How so?
Well, not only was I prepared, but I was prepared of years of preparation, right? It wasn't like preparing for an interview or studying. It was my whole life led up to that moment. And that was my life in the public sector, the private sector, and working in City Hall. So I oversee community relations and government affairs. And so it's both things. And they wanted somebody that knew the bottom line, like the private sector kind of like business side of it, which I was in. I worked at DirecTV for about 8 years in several different departments. They wanted somebody that knew the politics of Los Angeles and has relationships. And then they wanted somebody that also knew the community. And I grew up, like, nobody has to tell you how to be a Latina in LA. Like, you don't have to read about that. You're like, I am a Latina. You don't need to.
I was born qualified.
Yeah, I was born qualified. So like you don't need to tell me.
Yeah.
So all of those things just sort of came together. And I interviewed with all men in the very senior positions, and I ruled that room. And if I could say that humbly, and they were just open to like the next thing, right? Like, okay, this is where we need to go, which I applaud the Dodgers for that, because knowing LA, especially the new owners come in, they buy the team. You have to have local people. It's part of what needs to happen.
Yeah, it's part of the Dodgers. The Dodgers is a local, like, especially too, the Dodgers their fan base is Latino. Like, that's all it is, really. Like,
that's the big percentage of the Dodger fan base.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of history there with Jackie Robinson, Fernando. Like, what the thing with Fernando and Fernando Mania is that what he represents, he came from this little town in Mexico, like this little town, and what he represented for so many people and generations is hope. Like, if this man from this little town in Mexico, poor, comes in and like makes it happen, like just incredibly talented, incredibly smart, and that for a lot of Latinos in our community in Southern California, around the country, we're like inspired. It's like, hey, we have a platform now. We see somebody that's like us, that looks like us, that speaks the language, that that's an immigrant to the country. All of those things, just so incredibly powerful. It gives me the chills every time.
Well, all it takes is just one. It just takes one person to break the barrier, Like, I think we were talking about Juan Toscano Anderson, like, newly Laker, Mexican-American, and he's the first Mexican player on the Lakers.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And not to say, like, he'll be the only one, but, like, he's definitely... at least I believe he's inspired more Mexican Americans to want to like be in that position as well. Yeah. And like think about it, like there's a lot of like Mexican players like on the Dodgers. Like think about how many more can actually like either be on the Dodgers or be on like any other MLB team at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And then Adrian Gonzalez was another one, I think. Another big one.
I think he was a huge reason.
He's one of my favorite. Like he not only just a great player, but an incredible heart. His wife, his family, he grew up, I always like to say, like, I grew up giving back. That's what my parents did. It's sort of a generational thing. I don't know anything else, really. Even if it didn't become a career, it was something that my family did together. And he says the same thing. Like, that's what my parents did growing up. And so he became a professional baseball player, but always gave back. Even now they do. And so I just love him and his wife so much.
They're great. They're so nice. I've run into them a couple of times already, and they've just always been so nice. It's like crazy, honestly. I'm like, wow, really? Like,
yeah. And his wife is so beautiful. They met in like junior high.
Yeah, they've been together forever.
It's crazy.
Oh, dang.
Right?
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Junior high sweethearts.
Yeah. It's like really.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
So, being that I know you said you grew up giving back and like, constantly giving back, do you find it hard to like just kind of maybe do something for yourself sometimes?
Well, I have 3 kids, so like I don't feel like I ever do anything for myself. It's like, and I have, so my daughters who are part Asian. So my daughters are Hawaiian Japanese from their father, my ex-husband, and then Mexican from me. So they're Hapas. They have and they spent the summers in Hawaii.
Hapa means mixed, by the way, babe, if you didn't know.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know
no.
that.
Yeah. So my daughters and then my son who's 6. So my daughters are 17 and 15, and then my son's 6.
Oh, wow.
And my son's half Mexican and half black. I just had the United Nations going on in my household.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I love it.
like, yes. And so I don't know, I spend a lot of my extra time is for my kids. And I actually think giving back's it's also a selfish thing because it makes me feel good in a selfish way.
Yeah, I get that.
Like you do something for somebody else, you're like, gee, that felt really good.
Yeah.
And then like my mom would always tell us, when you're feeling bad about something and you think like this is the worst or whatever is going through your mind, pray for somebody else or think about somebody else or do something for somebody else because you think you have it bad, but
Other might have it worse.
yes.
Oh my God. That's like something that my mom would always tell me so much. Like,
Really?
for example, like if I didn't finish my food, my mom would be like, well, if you think about it, like the kids in the Philippines don't necessarily have that either. And I'm like, it's like one of those situations where it makes you feel bad, but then it also gives you perspective. Like, no, let me be thankful for what I have on my plate right now.
Perspective. A lot of that for me is for our family's faith too, right? That just having that faith, and the whole premise of being Christians is to give back, is to not think of yourself. It's like how do you help other people,
right?
And that's how we grew up. Like that's literally my dad would he died when I was little, but he would clear out the kitchen, like all the food, all the blankets, all the clothes, and they would drive down to the border of Mexico. Obviously, at the time, it was different because you can't just drive down now.
Here you go.
But during then, my mom says they would just fill the vans up and go to the border of Mexico and give blankets and clothes and food and everything.
Oh, wow.
Literally everything. My parents were foster parents. So so they fostered probably over 100 youth. They were, they were really dedicated to helping others. And that was their mission. That was 100% their mission. So,
oh my God. Well, shout out to your parents.
Shout out to my parents.
That's so cool.
Sure. Yeah. And my dad's life started rough. Like like I said, they were both from East LA and, he started to take the wrong path and, he got addicted to drugs and he was married to my mom and my mom, she was the total opposite. Like never done a drug in her life, and like this, she didn't even know it was happening. And finally, they losing the house. All these things are happening because he had this addiction, and so she left him. And I mean, he was in and out of jail. I mean, this how the story goes with people with problems like that.
Right.
And then while he was in jail, he has a maybe an informal memoir of this because I've read it, and he says like, I was gonna die in jail. Like that was it. Like I was gonna die, and that was the end of. He couldn't kick his addiction, and it was heroin, and heroin's it's a crazy drug. Like kills a lot of people, and so his cellmate was a Christian and basically shared the Bible with him and said like, this is the only way you're gonna get out of this, you know. And my mom would always like pray for him and say like you need to like figure your life out and he said my wife has given me a Bible and sort of he just dismissed it, but this time he was just like, God, if you're here then I need you because without you I'm gonna die. And he got himself together and he found my mom and he basically said, look, if we can make this, they were still married and if we can make this, if you'll still have me, we can make this marriage work, I want to dedicate my life to helping others. And so it was part of like his own process, right? And the way that part of that process, the way that he could get through things is like, I know how it feels to be like the scum of the scum, and I believe in redemption and people having a second chance.
So he wants to give that people a second chance.
So he basically took youth, Latinos, mainly boys, Latino boys, and they started a ranch in Victorville in the high desert. At the time, Victorville was not like the way it is now. It was just like ranch, like two ranches. And my parents had a ranch with like kind of like dormitories, and then like you probably don't know Dale Evans and Roy Rogers. They're these old actors that had like cowboy actor and actress that had a ranch too. And so they started their journey there. So they would take the boys to the ranch, like from here, from Los Angeles, and basically got them together, in school. They did everything. They were way ahead of their time. I mean, they were foster parents, but they taught them how to play piano. They had therapists come in. They had, they just did all these things. They gave them culture and love and all faith centered. And they fostered these kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so this was before I was born. Then I was born, and when I was about 2.5, my mom and dad were at church on Sunday. My dad was crossing the street. My mom was going to the back of the church. My dad was crossing the street to get his car. And my mom says basically they kissed and like they were going to meet at a restaurant. She's walking to the back. He's walking across the street, and two drunk drivers and motorcycles came. Oh my God. They hit him, and they all died instantly. Like literally just
so
like
sorry.
That. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And I don't want to make this sad, but it's just part of the story. It's part of the story. Like I can talk about it because it's part of when you ask me like why I'm in community affairs and giving back and everything. I just think it's part of who I am. And at first I was like kind of nervous to share the story of my father because then I thought, well, will people judge me? Like how will they think of me? Right? Like how did she grow up and what, and that type of thing. And I said, no, actually, this is I am Eugene Rodriguez's daughter. This is part of my story. And the reason I have a lot of compassion and love is because of that, is because I know, what that did to my family and how redemption and love and forgiveness can come in and just make such a difference.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's the real reason I feel that I'm here. I don't believe that there are mistakes, and I'm, living on his legacy.
Yeah, I was about to say that you're literally continuing the legacy that he built for not only you, but for like 100 of the kids that, your parents were fostering. Like, I can't imagine, you have 3 kids, right? My sister has 2 kids, and I'm over here like, this is more than enough. Like, I'm fine with this. So to have 100 over time, I'm like, oh my God. But, to also do everything that he was doing, it's just the fact that you're continuing his legacy. Not only did he inspire you and 100 other kids, but you're over here inspiring hundreds of thousands of kids with what you're doing. Take Garfield High School, for example. I can't imagine the reach and the impact that you had on those kids alone. And you've repeated that multiple times.
Yeah.
I mean, that I remind myself of that, of the platform and then of the blessing. And I think about it all the time. I think it's what carries me through, because it's also in any profession, it's not perfect, and there are ups and downs, and I've made my share of mistakes, very frankly. And I have to remind myself, and in those mistakes, I have my learnings, and I've grown up, and I've matured, and so I know that I'm a role model for a lot of people, but I also want the people that look at me to know that I'm not a perfect person.
Right.
And, but I think that the continuing sort of, underlining thing that runs through everything that I do is love and forgiveness. And that comes from my father, for sure.
Oh, wow.
That's your pops.
Oh my gosh. Wow, this
That's
is so
amazing.
it's crazy because I've known you for a while, but I've never really known your story. And to actually hear your story and to actually get to talk to you on a personal level, it's just even more wow, Naomi, you're amazing. You are truly amazing. And I also know that during All-Star Week, you were part of the All-Star Latinas initiative.
Yes.
And so how did that come about?
So I'm there's a group called Hispanas Organized for Political Equality. And so I went through a leadership institute. So they do, basically what they do is they take Latinas in all ages. I think they do right at high school, college, mid-career, and maybe, the end of the career. But they take Latinas and they put them through, they have several different leadership institutes, right? So it's to help you sort of, improve yourself as a leader, but also help you think about what your future is going to be and how you kind of maneuver through your future. Right. They've helped a lot of people get elected to office and different things. So I went through this leadership institute, when I was 24, around there. And I met some of my best friends in this leadership institute. So it was a group of 30 women. It was 4 weeks out of the year. And so I really kind of grew up with this organization and really admire the women that are running it. And so we have done different things with them, but the main thing was they came to me and they said, we want to highlight the Latinas that work for the Dodgers. So that's where that started, is that they said, so we want to highlight, from the very top levels all the way to, throughout the organization. And so that's what they did they used the whole all-star background, of, to highlight Latinas working in professional sports, specifically at the Dodgers.
Right.
Yes.
Wow, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because I saw that and I was just this is amazing just to kind of see, the different women that do work. And I'm just I don't realize how much of an impact it is until I actually take a step back and just be wow, we are really present in this type of, we industry.
We're present. We need more, and we need more Latinas at higher levels.
Yes.
Because that's really the people making decisions, right? That's really important. The people hiring. We need, our voice is important. It's not people ask me what is it when you're the only woman in the room or the only woman of color in the room? And I say, I don't really think about it that way. I think about I'm here for a reason. I have something to say. I was hired for a reason. I bring value, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it, with pride and my very best. And maybe after think, well, okay, I gave the women's perspective or the Latinas perspective, but the first thought is do your very best. Bring your A game.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the first thought, right?
That.
Like, because then you bring your A game, then you're, that's the most important.
Yeah. You bring your A game, then it doesn't matter if you're a woman. It doesn't matter if you're Latina. You're just doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. But, whenever we have these conversations, I feel like it's always a double-edged sword, so to speak, because it's like you have to remember that like you are who you are. So in your particular case, you have to remember you are Latina, you are a woman. But then at the same time, it's like, but that's not the sole thing that I'm relying on. It's because, like you have a voice. It's because like you know how to maneuver through the industry and you know how to, use what you have to influence other people to basically do what you need.
Right. And then the cultural part, right, is important. Like I was saying, like you don't have to tell me how to be a Latino, or I don't have to read about it. But and it was funny. We were talking about, or I should say, interesting. We were after we had El Salvadorian night at the stadium, which was very successful.
Yeah,
and we have these different nights where we celebrate several different cultures, and it was the first time we did El Salvador, right?
Yes.
And so it was huge. It was huge.
And we also had our first Guatemalan night too.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So,
and if I can mention the Filipino Heritage Nights,
He does have the jerseys for the past 2 years, so
right.
I'm very happy about that.
So, and I told Levy, who's our concessionaire that sells all the food, I'm like, next year we're talking about ways that we could just improve these different nights. I'm like, you should have pupusas at El Salvadorian night. And then they all looked at me like, what? What's that? And I'm like, that's a very common, like it's like a taco to a Mexican, like that's like a very like common food, from El Salvador, and it's really good.
Yeah.
And if I'm telling you, you have to have good ones, though, authentic ones.
When something's fake and when something's not authentic.
Yeah, and bringing that perspective is like, oh, okay. Like, and it wasn't even a thought. It was a thought, but I just said it. You know what I mean? Just because it was just second nature to me.
Yeah.
But to the group of people I was talking to, they didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
So that's when I'm reminded of the culture, because I'm like, oh, you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
To us, it's kind of like you should have this. Like, why not?
To them, it's like literally so foreign.
Yeah. The only other person that knew was the other Latina in the room. She's like, yes, you should have it. Like, other than that, everybody was kind of like quiet. Like, oh, okay. They started to Google, and so like, I guess from that perspective, I mean, this is a small example, but like, so, the culture of being a Latina, being a Mexicana, a Chicana in Los Angeles. Chicana is an old word.
Yeah.
You guys,
we know. She's educated me.
Okay, good. Yeah. And that, there's a culture there. There's certain things that we do. My mother lives with me, very similar to the Filipino culture. My mother lives with me. And that happens in our culture, in our, for some people that's foreign to have your parent with you.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I ain't putting my mom in a you know what I mean? We ain't doing all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you just don't. Like, and there are other things that I think just make our culture unique and beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's unspoken things too, right? That you just know that when you're part of the culture. There's nothing, like I've said this before, like, having authentic food really makes a difference, because when you have authentic food, when people say, is it a good Mexican place or is it a good Chinese place or whatever, I always say, if there are no, like, if it's a Chinese place and there's no Chinese people eating there, or if it's a Mexican place and there are no Mexicans eating there,
something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Hey, that's like when we go to the Korean barbecue and then we see like Mexican people cooking the food.
Yeah,
it's not even Koreans doing this.
Koreans in here. I remember I went to Boiling Crab one time and then all the cooks in the back were Mexican. I was like,
that's right.
There it is.
That's right. And so I'm like, that's how you can trust anybody asks you want a good Mexican food. Look who's eating there. Just look who's eating there.
I also saw something on TikTok yesterday that said, a good spot to eat at is if it has 3.5 stars on Yelp. Not 4, not 3, not like 3.5. Because when it comes to cultures and like how we serve our people and like, waiters and everything like that, for, white people, it may come off as rude, but for us, it's like a normal thing. It's just a normal thing. They're like, so the white people are the ones going onto Yelp and being like, oh yeah, service was bad. It's like, this is standard.
You know what?
That is 3.5 stars.
Yeah,
so 3.5 stars on Yelp. Go to those restaurants.
That is actually true, because sometimes we'll go to like 4 or 5 star restaurant. Not that we got we're not balling like that. Sometimes, right? But then we'll go to 3.5. I'm like, this is actually like
better.
Really, this is better.
and the authentic food, like here's another thing about, now I'm getting hungry. But here's another thing, is like, so you can always tell a Mexican restaurant, like when you first with the salsa, the chips and salsa, and
absolutely.
the salsa. So if the salsa's like not good,
watery,
and it's like, and you're like, okay, right. And then the other thing is the beans too. Like when the beans, like you can tell a lot by the beans.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah, like you just know.
Yeah, and then also when you get like, and then also like the hard shell tacos. That's more. That's and not the cheap Taco Bell ones. I'm talking about the fried ones. Like that's very much like a California style taco, right?
Absolutely.
Like a Chicano.
Okay.
Like that's very much a California style of eating. It's good, and there's an authentic way to eat that, but it's not the one that you get in the supermarket that's already like, the ones
pre-made.
That are, in that package. Like when I see those, I'm like, oh my god. And let me tell you, so I studied in near London in college. I studied abroad for a year, and so I remember, and you can imagine the ethnic food in England,
London.
Yeah, not
it's
so
very
much.
limited.
Yeah, not so much. And so I would have my mom send me like a bag of beans, a bag of rice, because I was just going a little bit crazy, and I would have to buy their tortillas, like, and I just couldn't do it. Like and that whole thing of that shell thing that I don't even know what it is. You know what I'm talking about? Like the Taco Bell shell, like I don't know what that is, but it's like
it's like 10 for $2 at the store.
Yeah, it's like, and I'm like, am I really gonna eat this?
Like, do I have to? Like, can I substitute it with something?
I don't know what to do if I'm really gonna eat this. And then I just decided, okay, beans and rice is fine. Like, you have beans and rice, you're good.
You're fine.
I was about to say, you had your mom ship you food. Like, can you imagine how expensive those shipping fees would have been? I hope you ate it.
No, and it was just the bag of beans and the bag of rice. Because I could get the onions, I could get all the other stuff.
You're there.
Yeah, then I know all my flatmates were all British, right? So they were all like, what is she doing? I swear they were. They were like,
so did you ever find, I guess, like a Mexican community in London by chance?
No, it doesn't exist. No. So the closest, when I wanted something spicy or whatever, I'd go to the Indian restaurants and then the Indian markets to get spices, which is still different than our spices, but like that was the closest thing to like something like as far as food. But then there were, and there was not, they're not there, but not that they're not Latinos in England, because there are, but to say that you go to this neighborhood because it's like the Mexican neighborhood does not exist. Like, just does not.
Wow,
so interesting.
That's insane.
Because I know that exists both in the Philippines. Well, not like a Mexican community, but like I don't know if you know, but in the Philippines, there's actually like a group of people whose main language is like Spanish.
Yeah.
And so it also happens in Japan too, where there's like an appreciation for like Hispanic and especially Mexican culture, where it's like they literally can sing like cumbia songs, bandas, and these are like their own songs. Like there's a high appreciation for Mexican culture in Japan.
Yeah, it's truly amazing, because then like I've even seen a documentary where they just have taken like the East LA culture and just kind of moved it to a city in Japan.
Really? Yeah. I want to see that documentary.
They have lowriders. They have like, they do their music. They're singing in Japanese, but it's based off of like cumbias, like the rhythm and everything like that. It's crazy. I need to send that to you.
You need to send it to me. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, the streetwear that they wear too, all East LA
inspired.
based. All LA
Really?
based. Yeah. It's pretty insane. It's kind of crazy because you're just looking and you're just like, I know this isn't Japan, but everything that they're inspired by is here in LA.
Yeah.
So cool.
You know, even when you go to like K-pop, for example, like I think one of the strangest things that I had witnessed over the past couple of years was going to, you know, my regular spots in Koreatown, like let's say a Korean barbecue, right? And then on TV, they usually have music videos playing. And it was a group of K-pop singers like singing in Spanish. And it was one of those situations where my brain had to process it for a second. I'm like, well,
Are they speaking Korean?
yeah. I'm like, well, think about it, Nico. Like everyone else can speak English. It's not too far off that other cultures around the world could also speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get it. Like for a minute there, you're like
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Let me digest this. It's so I love it. I just love that. I love that we can share cultures, that we can take things, and you know, I love it. My son right now goes to a school that a lot of Indian kids, and so I'll never forget because the first time he comes home and he's like, "Mom, do you know they eat with their hands?" That's the first thing he said. It's like, why do they eat with their hands? Like, and they eat everything with their hands, like
Right.
rice and everything.
everything.
Not. But they're really newer to the country, to the U.S.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, they eat with their hands. Did you know that? And I said, yeah, I understand. And I said, what do you think? I'm curious to know, what do you think? He's like, well, can we eat with our hands? Because we eat
That's
rice.
cool.
Yeah. And like, he's like, he didn't think about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just thought like, it was like, kind of like, and so I said, well, we eat tacos with our hands, taquitos with our hands, but we don't eat our beans or rice with our hands. And it's just not, we use, you know, a spoon or a fork. And she says, well, they eat everything with their hands. and then like, it just moves on. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like, I just love that. I love that and it's really in the youth and young until they get like in the world and, you know, things change them. But I love that he doesn't see it like any other way. You know what I mean? He doesn't. And I said, what do you think is different between the two of you? I asked him that question too. And then he said, he's taller than me.
I mean, hey, if that's the only thing he sees, and that's amazing.
Yeah. He said he's taller than me. And then the only thing I think he has a harder time with is that, so he has a fro. Like I said, he's half black. And he gets a lot of attention for his hair. And so sometimes, like, I think when it's adults telling him your hair is so beautiful and everything, but like with kids, I think he has a harder time with, there's not as many kids in his school with that type of hair.
Right.
And so I think he, there's like he gets a little bit like, should I cut my hair? And like, you know, and I'm like, Papa, your hair is unbelievable.
Yeah. Anybody would want your hair.
Curly hair, blue eyes, half black, half Mexican. Like he's gorgeous. I know he's my son.
Curly hair, blue. Do you have a photo?
I do have a photo.
I need to see this.
Yes.
Sounds like a beautiful child.
It's like you guys.
I know every time I see him on your Instagram, I'm just like, what a beautiful kid. Honestly.
You two are going to make really cute kids. You understand this, right?
Well, if there's blue eyes, it didn't come from me or her. So I'm going to be like, whoa.
No, but like I could see like a cute little girl. Like, but I'm already making you guys have kids.
I
know, right?
You're like,
I'm like Naomi right now.
Yeah, but like the mixed kids are just gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask you this? Because, you know, your kids are, they're mixed. So, like, are they attached to, like, either any one of the cultures that either you or, like, you know, your husband grew up with?
Ex-husband. Yes. So, here's the thing. For sure, their dominating culture is Mexican. Because my mom lives with us, me, you know. So for sure it's that, but they are very much through their father. So like, as I said, every summer they went to Hawaii and there's a school in Hawaii called Kamehameha, and King Kamehameha was the king of Hawaii and Queen Emma was the queen. And she left this big piece of land, an endowment where they built Kamehameha after King Kamehameha. And the school is to preserve the Hawaiian culture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, like, the native culture.
Yeah,
right?
I believe only Hawaiian, like, actual Hawaiians can go to this school.
That's right. And so, people could say they're Hawaiian and they're, like, grew up, they're Japanese, Irish, you know, but, like, there's just, like, Native American, there's the Native Hawaiians. And so, the Kamehameha is for Native Hawaiians. And so, my kid's father, he went to that school. And so, in the summers, that they were participated in a program where they went to summer school, but they also participated in a program where they learned the culture, more of the culture, the language, the songs, the like all of that. And so they're very much proud of being Hawaiian. And they have Hawaiian middle names. That I think in the mainland they have a harder time with the middle names. Like they don't tell people their middle names. Because,
pretty long, huh?
Yeah. Well, and also because like, you know, nobody has those names here. Like in Hawaii, everybody has them. So in Hawaii, it was no problem. But and especially at Kamehameha. But here, like it's like a Mexican name that nobody could say, right? Like
it's like, why am I gonna even try?
Yeah, and they shorten it to like something else.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean?
So like John.
Yeah, to John. Just like in the Vietnamese, I go to get my nails done, and they're like, you know, speaking their language. It's like, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm like, you're not Sarah.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. And so yeah. So I would say that the Mexican culture dominates them, but also I'm so proud. At least one of the things their father did, right, is to keep the Hawaiian culture a part of their life.
Right.
And we gave them middle names. So here's the thing. Their father is half Hawaiian, half part Japanese, and then another part Swedish. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So his great grandfather came from Sweden to Hawaii, right? So the last name that carried down, even though they're fully, like, if you see him, he's fully like Polynesian. Like he does, his last name's Jacobson, okay? Because of so this is funny, right? So my kids, now just picture this, right? Like I never took his last name when we were married. I just was never going to change my name just because I wasn't. But I would have been Naomi Jacobson. Like that doesn't work.
That doesn't work. That doesn't flow right. That doesn't flow right.
But anyway, so my kids, my older daughter is Emma, after Queen Emma from Hawaii, Emma Imai Kalani Rodriguez - Jacobson.
That is just a blend of everything.
That's a crazy name.
Yeah, and then my younger daughter is Ella Koa'ali'i, which means warrior queen, Rodriguez - Jacobson.
I love how you took both of their names. You got literally 4-letter first names to make up for the fact that the rest of their name is just extremely long.
They have 50 billion
I love to see their actual, government signature.
So this is funny. What they did is going through. They just Ella Jacobson, right? But when they got to a new high school, because we recently moved, the high school required that they use their whole name. So for the first time they were using Rodriguez - Jacobson. They didn't have to use the middle name. It's just, the initial, whatever. And I said to them, and they were like, "Oh, why do you do this to us?" And complain. Teenagers complain.
Yeah.
And I said, one day, I know not now, but one day you are going to thank me. And one day you might even just start using your Hawaiian name and not even use your English name.
Yeah.
One day I promise you. You right now you think whatever you think,
Yeah.
But it's a living document. That birth certificate's a living document of your heritage, and I wanted you to have it all in there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, that's very true. And that's something I think, like you said, they probably won't understand right now, but they are going to understand it eventually.
You know what? So my last name is Trianfante. And so growing up, like a lot of my, of all people, my English teachers couldn't even pronounce my name.
Really?
Yeah, it was insane. And so, growing up and having a lot of people just either mispronounce my name or they couldn't spell it correctly. It always frustrated me, and it made me actually less appreciative of my name.
Of course.
But then as I started to, venture off into the real world, I'm over here thinking literally no one else has my last name. So I'm over here I should be way more proud about this because literally no one else has this other than my family.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Our names, and they speak to, in the Hawaiian culture, you cannot just pick a name. This is the way the Hawaiians do it. So for example, here's another story about the name. So we're about to leave the hospital. And at the time my husband's he didn't have a name. And you can't just, in the Hawaiian culture, you can't pick a name. I like a lot of people have Leilani because it means flower or whatever. But but that's like
You're like, that's a no.
That's a no. Sorry.
That was a definite no list.
Sorry, y'all Leilanis.
Shout out to all our Leilani listeners. We love you.
Sorry, but it's a really pretty name. But it has to mean something. It has to come from somewhere. Like there has to be meaning behind it,
Right.
You know, and so we're about to leave the hospital, and I was so annoyed because he did not have a name, and like to leave the hospital without a birth certificate, like no good, because or you just don't have a name. Your kid doesn't have a name, so they can't give you a birth certificate. So you have to go to the Hall of Records, all this stuff to get your kid has to have a name. So the more people told him, like everyone's saying, pick a name. He was like, no. So we're about to leave, and I was like holding my baby, and I was mad, and I was like, so. Then I was the doctor that delivered both of my girls. He was from Nigeria, really, really smart doctor. Like, just we connected on a whole spiritual level. Okay, so then he comes in, he discharges us, he leaves, and I'm in the wheelchair about to leave, and so he comes back in, and obviously we had prayed together. We had, like, as I said, we had like a spiritual connection, and he looked at us. He could see we were kind of like arguing or whatever it was. And he looked at us and he said, your daughter was sent to you from the heavens above. Just like that, he said. And then he walked out. And then my ex says, that's it. Heaven sent. She was sent to us from heaven. Like that's it. Like she is our blessing. And so you translate heaven sent as Imai Kalani. So that is her Hawaiian name. Imai Kalani. Yeah. And then my younger one, when I say younger, she's 15, but she's Koa'ali'i. And Koa'ali'i means a warrior queen. And so she was born premature, and she was in the NICU.
Oh, wow.
And she had the tubes in her nose and her everything, the feeding tube, the IV, the whole thing. Oh my God. Yeah. And so that's for a mother, that's like you leave the hospital without your kid. That's just another thing. Yeah. So they had said to us, she's probably going to be in the NICU for a couple of weeks to get stronger and everything. So that night we left, came back the next morning, and literally she had pulled everything out. Her tubes out, everything. She was like, they had to like put the little restraints on her because she was pulling everything out. And then that evening, they're like, oh, we can take the breathing tube off. The next morning, they're like, we could take the eating tube off. Like within 3 days, they're like, and the doctor's like, I don't know, this little girl is amazing.
Wow.
She is like, she's strong. She's like 2 weeks turned into 4 days. She went home.
Wow. Amazing.
That's cool.
And hence the warrior queen.
Warrior queen.
That's it.
She's the warrior queen.
Wow. Yes. I love that.
Yes.
That's so amazing that they just have like that, sentimental like name for your daughters. Like it's just, this is why we did it. Like, and yes. I'm pretty sure you remind them all the time.
Every birthday. Both of their birthday, July 10th, July 15th. They're 5 days apart, 2 years, 5 days, which another thing. They're like Emma, Ella, July 10, July 15. Like, it's my fault that they were born 5 days. Like,
you're like, yeah, sorry.
When you have teenagers, everything's your fault. Like, everything.
Right.
It's like, if my daughter says, I hope she doesn't listen to this. I dropped her off at school. I'll never forget. This was like, she was in 8th grade, and I'm dropping her off. I'm all happy. Like, she's getting out of the car. I'm like, hey, babe, God bless you. Have a great day, mama. Like, the whole thing. And then she's like sitting, and then she walks, like she's walking towards the school. She comes back, and she's like, it's all your fault. It's like,
what? What's her?
You're like, I am so confused right now.
So I was like, okay, well,
I guess it is.
Whatever it is today.
Yeah, it was funny because I remember like in high school, I think it was probably like I want to say it was towards the end of freshman year or sophomore year. My dad always dropped me off at school. And every time he dropped me off, he would give me a kiss on the cheek and I'd say bye and whatever. Right. And then I'd walk out. And I guess one day I didn't do it. The first day I didn't do it, I came back home and he was just like telling my mom, like you could tell he was sad. And I was just like, what's wrong? He goes, well, you didn't say bye to me like when you left for school. And I was just like, yeah, I did. I said bye. And when I left, he goes, yeah, but you didn't give me a kiss on the cheek. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know.
It's a very emotional thing. Let me tell you
really
something.
Is.
Because when your kids stop doing that, it's kind of what it signifies, like they're just moving on.
Yeah.
Like getting older.
Yeah.
And it's really like, my son, he's 6, and when I walk him to school every day, his school's very close to our house, and I'm like, can I have a kiss? And when he's in front of the school, he just does the side thing. When we're at home, it's like,
he's all loving
Mom,
at home.
don't embarrass me, Mom.
Yeah, I know.
I'll give you a kiss.
And my son is just, he calls me his beautiful butterfly.
Oh my gosh.
My son owns my heart, like 100%. Like, this little kid is just, we were in Hawaii this past summer for on vacation, right? And so he has a huge heart. And so we're leaving the beach, and there was a homeless person asking for food and money, and he was like, he always stops, like, and sometimes I'll say, depending like what the situation is, I'll say like, oh, we'll give him something or whatever. And so it was an older man, and Mom, he says, I just want to pray with him. I just kind of want to pray for him. Can I pray for him? And then he was 5 at the time. Okay, I have it on my Instagram. And I said, oh, okay. And he says, and he goes over, and the man was older, but like, and clearly living on the streets, like dirty hands, like all that stuff. And my son just walks over, my 5-year-old son walks over to this man who's probably maybe 65-ish, grabs his hands, and, he says, can I pray for you? And he grabs his hands, and he just starts praying for him.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's how you know you raised your kid right, though.
It's on my Instagram. That video, I just, at that moment, I just thought, it happened so quickly, and I'm like, and then I just took a video of him, and like everyone started to see that video, and I thought, that is my son. If it wasn't planted, it was his heart. It was just like, that's my son. That is my son.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
That's definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Wow, that's amazing. That's truly amazing.
Yeah, he still could, he has
his moments.
Yeah, but like, I wanted a boy so bad, and God blessed me with one.
Wow, that's amazing. I really want Nico to see your son.
Yeah. So this is where.
Oh, I thought she was gonna look at me like, I really want a son.
Yeah.
No.
Nico.
You're like,
She's like,
few more years, we're fine.
Okay, so let me get a good picture of him. There's too many. Okay, this is him with the World Series trophy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but you can't see.
His fro is just
His
adorable.
fro.
Let me show you. Let me get one with the
And his
fro.
gap tooth.
His like, this is his personality. Like, this is funny. This is him. Just like, just take a picture, and he's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's. You know what? I could definitely see like the mixed backgrounds.
Okay, but
in
let
him.
me show you one. This is him and Justin Turner. Like, he thinks he looks like Justin Turner. Like, I'm like, you do not look like Justin Turner. No,
I think maybe it's just because he's his favorite player, probably.
He says he looks like Justin Turner and Mookie Betts. I'm like, okay.
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 You're like, all right.
But let me just show you.
He's like pulling all the percentages from his like.
I'm like, there he is. That was in Hawaii. You can
Oh
see
yeah,
it.
he's
You
a
can
beautiful
see it.
kid. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
He's beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, that's truly amazing.
Man.
Oh, wow. I feel like this was such a good episode.
Yeah.
I learned so much about you. I learned about your story. We learned about, everything. It's just, you're truly amazing. Truly amazing.
It was so much fun, and keep doing what you're doing. I love that the two cultures come together. I love that you're, supporting each other in that way, because,
Thank you.
Our world needs more of that, more of the love, more of promoting that.
Yeah, it's just more collaboration between cultures. I mean, I think the biggest goal of this podcast, in general, is just to bring together Mexican culture and also Filipino culture. And, with your specific story, for example, it's like, especially with your kids, it's like, it's a melting pot of so many different cultures. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're all human. We all bleed red when it comes out. Apparently, I just figured out that we actually bleed purple inside.
Oh my God.
And then it hits the air, and then it turns red.
It turns red. You know what I mean? But, at the end of the day, it's like we're all human. We're all just trying to make it. So it's only fair that we all treat each other with respect, and we see all the similarities and also appreciate the differences that all of our cultures have.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Before we leave, I do got to say I have one complaint about Dodgers.
What is it?
We need the Michelada hot dog back, because that was there like a couple years ago, and I'm like, this smacks. So I went to a game to see Jackie host one time, and I'm just like, where the hell is the michelada hot dog?
I will pass that along.
Okay.
I will pass it along.
Oh my
If there's any complaint that you make today, that's the one coming directly from me.
I will pass it along. I'll pass it along for sure.
Oh my gosh. Sure. Well, everybody, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Naomi, I don't know if you want to plug your Instagram or if you want to do anything like that.
Yeah, I mean,
or any any philanthropy work that you have coming on soon.
I'm the best. If you want to get a hold of me, the Dodgers have a lot of different programs. At one program in particular, where we bring underserved youth to the stadium and give them the full baseball experience, and we pay for everything. So hit me up on Instagram, Rodriguez_Naomi3, and I'd love to bring those kids to the stadium.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Well, you want to
amazing? Yes, my name is Nico Blitz.
I'm Jackie Ramirez.
I am Naomi Rodriguez,
and this is the Mexipino podcast. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Adios.
Ciao.